Hello, and welcome to Bread and Thread, a podcast about food and domestic history. I'm Liz.
And I'm Hazel, two people that studied archaeology and love social history.
So, have you been making or baking anything this week?
Yeah, I've been. Did I tell you that I got a spinning wheel?
You did not.
I have a spinning wheel now, and it's great. I can spin so many things, so many fibers. Um, I have been spinning some Jacob slash Shetland wool
Oh.
because this is going to sound like the most villagey thing ever, but
I mean, you are
the
the most
postman,
villagey person I know.
I guilty as charged. The postman in our village is also a shepherd, and he
Naturally.
has some sheep out in the levels. So I got a fleece, and I've been spinning that, and also doing some stuff with Southdown wool. Um, I'm trying to spin it into a lace weight so I can do like a hand spun version of a Shetland lace shawl.
Oh,
It's
that's cool. Shetland lace is
okay.
a whole thing. We should do an episode on Shetland lace.
Oh, we absolutely should, yeah. I'm slightly regretting my decision due to how much work is involved. There is a lot. I mean, it's enjoyable, but also like there's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah. What have you made? Is it delicious?
it is delicious. I've rediscovered my love for Banoffee Pie, which is one of those classic look we invented fridges kind of desserts.
It
Um
is very 1970s in a nice
yeah,
way. I don't like banoffee pie. I'm sorry.
I will forgive you.
Okay.
It can be very sweet. But I've made some banoffee cookies which are less sweet
Ooh,
because
that sounds nice,
because rather
actually, yeah.
than banoffee pie's got loads of caramel in it, this is more just it has little bits of fudge and then there's banana in the actual cookie dough. So it's like a
Mm,
grown-up banoffee pie.
that sounds like a superior biscuit.
It is delicious. I will have to send you the recipe.
Thank you. I thought you were going to say you would send me the cookies.
I don't
I
know
got
how
excited.
well they travel.
Mm, just roll them.
If I get a big enough slingshot, I could shoot them from Manchester to Pevensey.
Yeah.
They're probably quite aerodynamic.
I'll put a net in the garden and I'll just catch me some wild sky cookies. That'll be great.
I love it. So, this is our first episode, and we decided that I was going to do the research first. So, I'm going to talk to you about oysters and their journey from terrible filler meat to incredibly expensive fancy meat.
Ooh, that sounds like an exciting journey of meat.
Have you ever had an oyster?
I actually never have. I can't get over how they look like snot.
They are quite slimy.
Oh, there's a limit on slimy things that I want going down my throat, and I've never been able to bring myself to get oysters down there. Nah. Um,
You can get smoked oysters though, which have more. It's kind of a livery, like pate type texture, but they taste really good, and I recommend putting them in a quiche with like a bit of broccoli.
when did you make oyster quiche?
When I lived with my very middle class parents,
That is a ridiculous food item.
it was delicious though.
Fair. I mean, I'd try it, I guess.
I mean, a combination of being northern and being middle class means I've eaten most things at this point. But yeah, so oysters. Getting back on topic, oysters in history.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
tell me about some oysters.
So the way that we eat oysters now, with like a little bit of something acidic on, some sort of fancy topping, has actually been a thing since the Romans. who used to import British oysters because they were just so good and big, which is quite cool.
Oh yeah, everything's big in Britain.
It's well known we're the Texas of Europe in that everyone secretly hates us.
I think we are in like the worst kind of way, but oysters.
But they were like oyster shells have actually been seen almost as a filler material in buildings, like prehistoric right through to medieval.
Oh,
Um, like if you look at some of the medieval stone buildings, especially up in Scotland, you can actually see oyster shells embedded in the walls sometimes.
no way.
Yeah, I went to Mary King's Close, which is this underground haunted street in Edinburgh, and there were oyster shells embedded in some of the walls.
Were they haunted oysters?
I feel like it would be hard to detect an oyster ghost, is the problem. Like,
I don't
oysters
know what
don't do
noise
much.
it makes. Yeah, that's. I don't know what a tortured oyster soul would sound like.
Just creaking shells.
That would actually be quite terrifying. Okay.
So, I
Cool.
mean, you can tell from that oysters were very much a working class food. There's actually a line from the Pickwick Papers, which is Dickens.
Mm-hmm.
Look, sir, here's a oyster stall to every half dozen houses. The street's lined with 'em. Blessed if I don't think that when a man's very poor, he rushes out of his lodgings and eats oysters in regular desperation.
That's wild, like considering how much of a posh food they are today.
Yeah, like they would be used as a bulk ingredient. Like you'd get a beef and oyster pie, and the oyster was like the trash ingredient.
Oh no.
Or you could just straight up buy them pickled on the street.
Oh. Oh, the beef's gone rotten, boys. We better wang in some oysters. Okay, so how did that happen? How did it get from like trash street food to extremely fancy?
I need you to imagine the jazz hands here. Overfishing! So
That's
basically,
the cheery version.
yeah. So basically, oyster beds in the Thames would grow from the shells of other oysters, they'd, like latch onto them, kind of like a reef made of your grandparents' bones, I guess, would be the closest comparison.
Hmm. That
um,
yeah, that is the first comparison that springs to mind.
so basically, because they were fishing them so much out of the Thames, there weren't these beds anymore, so they just ran out of them. So then they started fishing for oysters like on an industrial scale in Essex and Sussex, and then it happened there as well.
I see.
And then you add in the Industrial Revolution, because oysters are an indicator species, so they basically only grow in relatively clean water.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about the Thames being so bad that the Great Stink was a thing,
Oh yeah,
where
I
it
didn't
was
mean
just
to.
so full of sewage that the warm summer made like Parliament have to abandon the building.
Mm.
They
Is
were
that what it takes?
they were not very good for you. Um,
Yeah,
the
I would
yeah,
not want to eat an oyster out of the Thames. Like even today, probably.
yeah. But there's a story in 1902. The mayor of Winchester served oysters at a banquet. Multiple people died from these toxic oysters.
Oh, oh boy.
But because by this point they were rare, it was still a fancy thing. Like it's a risk, but it's rare, so we've got to have it because we're fancy.
Oh gosh, that's an aspirational thing right there, dying of oyster poisoning.
Well, yeah. And then now people expect them to be expensive. So even though we can absolutely farm oysters,
Oh, like manufactured scarcity.
yeah.
Okay.
Which interestingly, a similar thing happened with lobsters in the US.
Oh, I think I heard a bit about that. Yeah, that lobsters used to be like really working class food.
Mm. But then they started shipping it to the rich people in the city, who
Ah,
then went to the East Coast as tourists and wanted fresh lobsters. And like, I feel it's more justifiable in lobsters because they're difficult to farm. Like,
hmm.
there, as far as I could tell, there are not lobster farms. But again, it's that expectation that it's going to be expensive.
I guess so. I mean, yeah, I can see how it would be difficult to like keep them in the fields. You'd need very low fences.
Can lobsters dig? I feel like they must be able to dig.
I feel like there's only one way to find out, and that is by removing a lobster from its habitat and getting it to dig a hole in your garden.
That's fair.
The science.
So yeah, that's my potted history of how oysters became a luxury food, which
Oh,
I
I
just
see what
think
you did
it's
there.
wild.
It
How
is.
like this is dangerous, but it's also rare, so we're gonna make it the newest conspicuous consumption.
It is like it's slightly inconceivable how something so aesthetically repulsive could become the new fancy food.
Especially because we've been able to like oysters have been farmed in France since the 18th century.
Oh,
There is no
okay.
reason for them to still be this expensive beyond we expect them to be.
It's just, I guess it's just a thing now. Like, what did you die
Yeah.
of? Oyster poisoning. Oh, how refined. I,
It does make you think though of like like rich people diseases in books and things. It's like, oh, too much port and now you've got gout, aren't you fancy?
oh, yeah, gout.
Or like when medieval kings died of eating too many lampreys. I'm wondering if it's a similar thing. It's just like, well, if you're gonna go, at least you were eating the fancy seafood.
If you're gonna die, do it as expensively as possible.
I mean, those are words to live by, which is why I plan to die doing all of the drugs while skydiving.
Oh, great.
You have to admit, it would be interesting to see what happened.
It would. From the ground.
Maybe with an
Also,
umbrella.
I like the image that you'll be like 105 years old while doing this.
I mean, it's entirely conceivable, but I would get to that far.
Imagine being the person that was like just just kind of going about their day, like enjoying the park or something, and suddenly like a screaming elderly person drops from the sky.
It would be a story.
Yeah. Okay. Like the kind of the only thing I remember about oysters is that there are lots of them found in prehistoric sites.
Yeah, you
Um,
get a lot of shell middens that have a lot of oyster
yeah,
shells. I think again in
yeah.
Scotland, actually.
Ah. Did I read something about the beaker culture being associated with that, or am I making that up?
It wouldn't surprise me. I'm gonna do a
Hmm.
quick Google.
Google.
Well, not Google. I use Ecosia. Um,
Oh,
I can't find anything about it, but this is just from a brief search.
Looks like I made up some archaeology.
But I mean, the main thing with the Beaker people is that they liked to party, didn't they? They brought brewing to Britain.
That is, I mean, I salute them for that. Because, like, yeah, gotta hand it to them. I mean, you wouldn't have thought that just leaving out some grain water would turn it into delicious alcohol, but they did it, the mad lads.
I guess it's easier once you've got the beakers.
Yeah, I guess, which do you think came first? Like the beaker or the beer?
Oh,
Mm.
that's gonna haunt me.
I'm
Like
glad that they
a
did though.
Scottish oyster.
You'll be dreaming of oysters floating.
So,
I'm glad they did because I made some blackberry wine recently and
oh,
it worked. I made alcohol.
I'm afraid my yeast experiments have been limited to bread.
Oh no. Did you?
But in my defense, I don't drink.
That is a good reason to not make alcohol.
So, I believe you've been researching the pond pudding for our segment Local Larder, where we talk
Hi.
about weird local foods.
Are you calling my food weird?
It's got a whole lemon baked into it.
Ah, okay. Well, actually, in the
Oh,
course of my intrepid researches, I found out that the lemon is in fact an intruder.
or does it sneak in through the back door of the oven?
Yeah, it burrows itself into the pudding.
Like an
That's
antlion.
that's not something I want to think about in my pudding. Okay, yeah, so Sussex pond pudding is a kind of pudding that is traditionally associated with Sussex, which is my home county. And it's basically it's like a steamed pudding, um, or the kind that's boiled in cloth, kind of like a Christmas pudding.
Is it like a suet kind of thing, or?
Yeah, it's a suet, like a steamed or boiled suet pudding, and it's got stuff in. And the pond part is because the all the kind of like butter and syrup in it, when you cut it open, it kind of forms this caramelly sauce that leaks out, and it's a little pond,
Ooh.
which is cute.
I never
Um,
considered a pond of caramel to be an essential part of a dessert, but you're changing my mind.
uh, yeah. Well, I mean, consider I've actually never had one of these, despite coming from a uh, long time Sussex family, but um, I guess they just weren't nationalistic enough. Um, and also like it's kind of effort. Like you have to make up this thing and then boil it for quite a while, I think, and
Oh yeah, I mean
then
suet puddings are a lot of work.
yeah, it's the kind of thing you do like if you're spending all day cooking Sunday lunch anyway.
Mm.
Um, so this pudding is first recorded as a dish in a book from 1672 by Hannah Woolley called The Queen-like Closet, which is a great name.
Mm.
And weirdly enough, it was the lemon is like a iconic feature of it that it has this whole lemon baked inside. But the lemon actually doesn't appear until the 1970s. And instead, the
70s
original
again.
yeah, I don't know what happened in the 70s, but it was wild apparently. Um, yeah,
I mean,
in place
people
of the
needed
lemon,
something to do after they'd finished with all of the free love.
after they started having to pay for love again,
Yeah,
they turned to alternative methods like puddings. Um,
pudding is love.
so so yeah, it like the original main ingredient of this pudding was not a whole entire lemon. It was in fact a massive slab of butter. Like the original pudding was apparently literally just
Butter
butter encased
pie.
in suet pastry.
Wow.
Oh yeah. I guess this was when people needed their calories for like sweating in the fields for their feudal overlords.
I mean, I guess it's
Hmm.
probably easier to get hold of butter than lemons in 17th century Sussex.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. There was a lot of butter floating around. Yeah, and it seems to continue to be it's not called Sussex pond pudding at this point. It's a Sussex pudding. So apparently we were the first to invent just covering butter in an absolute ton of pastry. Although I did once come across a recipe, Gervais Markham recipe for a pound of butter curiously roasted.
In what way is it curious beyond how doesn't it melt?
I'm curious about why it doesn't melt, so um so that's the origins of the Sussex pond pudding. It appears in a few cookery books, in Eliza Acton's 19th century cookery book, um, and in the 1970s one, which was Jane Grigson's English Food. And Clarissa Dixon Wright also mentions it in A History of English Food, which is a great book. Um, and yeah, she puts a whole lemon in it as well. So
I have
somewhere
to
along the
ask,
line, yeah,
do you peel the lemon?
you do not peel the lemon. It needs to be unwaxed. And according to Clarissa, you need to scratch the lemon so that the flavour bursts out while it's being cooked.
See, I'm now more confused by the inclusion of the lemon than I was originally.
The lemon is a quandary, yeah. The lemon is an unidentifiable object.
An
Um,
enigma wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in suet pastry.
Indeed. So I found a few like modern versions of this recipe. Um, it basically comes down to Mary Berry versus Heston Blumenthal, and you can tell me which one wins at the end.
I mean,
Um,
I'm automatically siding with Mary Berry, or pretty much anyone against Heston Blumenthal.
okay, your loyalty is admirable. So yeah, the Mary Berry one looks quite nice actually. It's got like kind of a lighter suet pastry. The original suet was beef suet, which beef suet wrapped around butter. I feel like that would have had an interesting flavor. Um,
Hmm.
hmm. Yeah, this one, I mean, you can use vegetable suet or like, you know, butter would probably work. Just need something fatty. Um,
I do like the idea
yeah,
of making the pastry with butter as well. So you're basically just eating butter with some flour.
it's just like variations on butter.
Things though,
It's
I feel
basically
like
just hot
suet gives
butter.
a very different texture of pastry than butter.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that would be quite. No, I don't know. I mean, Hannah Woolley does suggest putting rose water on it, so
I mean, that
some
tracks
flavor.
though. That's Rosewater's a nice ingredient.
Yeah. Um, yeah, the Mary Berry one is like quite a nice sounding suet pastry, and then it's filled with muscovado sugar, some butter, a whole lemon, and some apples, which is quite a nice addition. I feel like that
Oh,
makes
so
it
you
a
get
bit
like a
more
toffee
like,
apple thing.
yeah, that's cool. And then you've got like a pond. Oh, they'd be like ducks in the pond, ducks that you can eat whole.
I mean, that is the dream. I cannot overstate how much I love duck.
Duck is good. Duck is good. Um, please don't eat a whole entire duck.
At least not in one bite.
Not in one bite live.
No.
Don't just go to the park and like shovel some ducks.
It's okay. My shovel's in a different town.
Do you know what? I can't find my trowel actually. It's causing me serious distress. Um, and so on to the Heston Blumenthal recipe, which oh, right, are you ready for this?
Is anyone ever ready for Heston?
I don't think anyone is ever ready for Heston. I think Heston just like breaks your door down in the middle of the night and barges his way into your bedroom and like flings deconstructed raspberry foam on you or something. Um, yeah, so in this pudding is almost a litre of golden syrup,
For how many servings?
10 apparently.
That feels like a lot.
There's quite a lot of
That's a lot of
syrup.
syrup.
Yeah, there's like 7 lemons. There is not, in fact, a whole lemon in it. There's like the zest of 7 lemons and then the juice.
That feels
Um,
like a coward's way out. Like,
yeah,
if you're gonna
Heston.
make a pond pudding with lemon, just put the whole lemon in.
Just get the lemon in your fist and punch it into the middle of the pudding. That's the traditional way. No one would think any less of you for it, Heston. Just punch a pudding. Just deck it one. Just absolutely maul that pudding.
Vibe check.
And that's what we're here for, just savaging puddings left and right. So, yeah, this recipe also begins with the words "make a beurre noisette," which, as
Oh,
far
of
as I'm
course.
concerned, is like a thing that you use to open jars. Um, so I'm voting Mary, to be honest.
Oh, definitely. Especially because she would probably call it brown butter
Oh,
rather
she
than
probably
beurre
would, yeah.
noisette.
She would probably just be like, melt the butter.
Yeah. There's not even bothering with the whole brown thing. It's like butter's butter.
Mary would punch the pudding.
She would. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
so I guess that's decided in favour of the Sussex plum pudding with apples and not a litre of golden syrup.
and a punched lemon.
Yeah. And that is the modern twist that I am adding onto this recipe. It's not a fun pudding unless you're in Sussex and you have fully fist fought the pudding.
So we hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to suggest a topic or a strange local food, you can email us at breadandthreadpodcast@gmail.com.
You can also find us on Twitter at Bread and Thread, and we'll see you next time.